or have another print disability which makes reading, holding a book, or turning a page difficult or impossible. The content is copyrighted by the respective publishers. For more information, please visit us on the web at nfradioreading.org.
Hello, this is Michelle. For the next hour, I will be reading from the February 15th issue of the Sunday Gusto from the Buffalo News and the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. Cover story: What's not to like about a fish fry? Picture: large platter of fish and coleslaw and a potato salad. A large platter can barely contain the popular fish fry at Gene McCarthy's in the Old First Ward. The fish fry tradition endures for a very simple reason: because it's good. The takeout box arrives long before the food does. Not a sign to rush. The box is more of a relief for the imminent picnic-sized meal. When the food, Walchick's famous fish fry, does come, it's a heavy oval plate of 3 mayonnaise-based salads, 2 fried foods, and 1 piece of bread. The star, a golden battered piece of fried fish, hangs off the plate just like it should. New year, new me. Season is over. Phew. The religious day of donuts, Punchki Day, is about to kick off fish fry season, otherwise known as Lent. There will be other food holidays in the meantime, like Chocolate Day, more commonly known as Valentine's Day, and Beer Day for St. Patrick's Day, if you insist. But the Catholic contribution to the local gastronomic calendar deserves celebration, regardless of your religious affiliation. Why does the fish fry endure in Buffalo? I'm inclined to think that this has an easy answer. It's not a mystery on par with, say, the Tom and Jerry's enduring appeal, because the Tom and Jerry is a laborious hot cocktail of brandy, rum, and sweetened egg batter, which can be a hard sell to bartenders and customers alike. The Tom and Jerry persists for those warm, Christmassy, traditional reasons: taste, memories, the evergreen appeal of nostalgia, cute mugs. At the risk of sounding like an overwhelmed parent snapping, "Because I said so," I'd argue the fish fry endures for a very simple reason: because it is good. It's an objective fact that taste is subjective, but some things are just good. Chicken wings, for example, are more popular than beef on weck, at least partly because their flavor is more appealing to a larger group of people. People eat fish fries because people like fish fries. It's the bottom of a pyramid of reasons. But the fish fry does not arrive out of the altruistic obligation to keep the culture alive. But climbing up the pyramid, a Lenten fish fry is not just a meal. As Wikipedia pathetically put it, a fish fry is an American social event. It's mostly available on Fridays, the prime day for a social dinner, when the weekend remains full of possibility. People have theorized over the years that fish fries endure in a working-class town like Buffalo because people want to relax over an economical meal at the corner bar at the end of a long week. For Catholics mostly, eating a Friday night fish fry is a sign of morality, as they abstain from eating meat on Lenten Fridays. It's also a time to support your church or local fire hall by ordering their volunteer-made fish fry with love. Fish fries have a long local history dating back to at least the 19th century. Some details have changed over the years. Lake Erie pike is no longer on the menu. Most fried fish is now either haddock or cod, yet much has remained the same, like the sides: creamy macaroni salad, creamy potato salad, creamy coleslaw, creamy tartar sauce, and crunchy fries with creamy potato insides. In 1979, the News' longtime food critic Janice Yoakum posed the question, "What's so great about fish fry anyway?" She answered with another question, "What's so great about a tender core of moist, white flesh encased in a crispy crust, for contrast, garnished appropriately and practically hanging over the sides of the plate?" I thought of that question while eating my Walchick's fish fry, which looked and tasted exactly like Oakham's 47-year-old description. What's so great about a fish fry? It's still the moist flesh, still the contrasting crispy crust, and still the charming way it hangs off the plate. It is what it is, has been and will be. It's fried fish. What's not to like? Where to get your fry on? There's no shortage of spots to enjoy this Friday night Lenten tradition. The News wrote its first fish fry guide in 1979. By that point, the region's culinary character was well defined. Beef on weck, chicken wings, fish fries. Fish fries have long been a Friday night phenomenon, courtesy of the Catholic tradition of abstaining from meat during Lent. Well, you can eat a fish fry in all its accoutrements on any random Friday. Lent is when fish fries thrive. For the next 6 weeks, savor the weekly ritual of fried fish, macaroni salad, potato salad, coleslaw, tartar sauce, bread, and a lemon wedge at everywhere from a restaurant dining room to a church basement. Below is a list of fish fries from churches and community organizations. Eldridge Bicycle Club, 17 Broad Street, Tonawanda. Fraternal Order of Eagles, 1411, 7269 Ward Road, North Tonawanda. Grantwick Hose Fire Company, number 6, 110 Ward Road, North Tonawanda. Hamburg United Methodist Church, 116 Union Street, Hamburg. Holy Mother of the Rosary, 6298 Broadway, Lancaster. Kenilworth Volunteer Fire Department, 84 Hawthorne Avenue. Knights of Columbus, Father Justin Council, Knights Event Center, Union Road, Cheektowaga. Our Lady of the Blessed Sacrament Elementary School, French Road, Depew. Pendleton Center United Methodist Church, 6864 Campbell Boulevard, North Tonawanda. Polish Cadets of Buffalo, 927 Grant Street. Polish Falcons of Depew, 445 Columbia Avenue. St. Andrew's Episcopal Church, West Creek Road, Burt. St. Bernadette's Holy Name Society, South Abbott Road, Orchard Park. St. Christopher's Church, Niagara Falls Boulevard, Tonawanda. St. Gregory the Great, Court, Williamsville. St. John's Community Church, East Church Street, Eden. St. John de La Salle Church, Buffalo Avenue, Niagara Falls. St. Catherine's Drexel Parish Community, North Ogden Street. St. Leo the Great Parish, Sweet Home Road, Amherst. St. Mark's Catholic Church, held at St. Mark's School, Woodward Avenue. St. Martha's Parish, French Road, Depew. St. Patrick's Episcopal Church, George Urban Boulevard. St. Stephen's Serbian Orthodox Church, Weber Road, Lackawanna. St. Stephen's School, Baseline Road, Grand Island. Sheridan Park Volunteer Fire Company, Sheridan Drive, Tonawanda. Springbrook Fire Company, Pound Road, Elma. Cinematic history. Clueless, the Karate Kid interception among 25 movies entered the National Film Registry. By Jocelyn Novak. As if they'd leave Clueless off the list. Cher Horowitz fans rejoice. Amy Heckerlund's 1995 teen comedy is one of 25 classic movies chosen this year by the Library of Congress for its National Film Registry. If Clueless wasn't your jam, whatever. Maybe this will send you deep into your dreams. Christopher Nolan's mind-bending Inception is in the mix. Other films chosen for preservation include The Karate Kid, Glory, Philadelphia, Before Sunrise, The Incredibles, and Frida. There are 4 documentaries, including Brooklyn Bridge by Ken Burns. Since 1988, the Library of Congress has selected 25 movies each year for preservation due to their cultural, historic, or aesthetic importance. The films must be at least 10 years old. Turner Classic Movies will host a TV special March 19th to screen a selection of the films. A closer look at some of this year's selections include The Tramp and the Dog from 1896, The Maid of Macmillan, 1916, 10 Nights in a Barroom, 1926, High Society, 1956, Brooklyn Bridge, 1981, The Big Chill, 1983, The Karate Kid, 1984, Glory, 1989, Philadelphia, 1993, Before Sunrise, 1995, Clueless, 1995, The Wrecking Crew, 2008, and Inception in 2010. You are listening to reading of articles and features from the February 15th issue of the Sunday Gusto from the Buffalo News. Things to do. Monster Jam, Polar Bears, and Mardi Gras music by Tony Roberto. The next 10 days have a varied offering of events from motor sports in KeyBank Center to Polar Bear Days at the Buffalo Zoo and a home show in Hamburg. Plus, we have 10 big concert announcements, including Rockin' the Knocks, Here's a Look, Monster Jam, various times February 20th to the 22nd in KeyBank Center. Western New York Home and Outdoor Living Show, various times February 19th to the 22nd at the Fairgrounds, South Park Avenue, Hamburg. Polar Bear Days, 10 to 5, February 16th to the 20th at the Buffalo Zoo, Parkside Avenue. Art Meets Jazz, 6 to 8:30, Wednesday, February 18th at BB's at the Gallery, Main Street. Lunar New Year Celebration, 4 to 8, Friday, February 20th at the Buffalo AKG Art Museum, Elmwood Avenue. Mardi Gras Jam with C.J. Chenier, 8 p.m. Friday, February 20th, Sportsman's Tavern, Amherst Street. Quick calendar, A Gentleman's Guide to Love and Murder by Music Fair Theater, February 19th to March 8th in Shays 710 Theater. The Black Rock Beatles, 6 p.m. Friday, February 20th at Hofbrauhaus, Scott Street. The United States Navy Band, 7 p.m. February 21st at the SUNY Buff State, Elmwood Avenue. Winter Market, 11th Saturday, February 21st at the Terrace at Delaware Park, Lincoln Parkway. USS, 7 p.m. Saturday, February 21st at the Town Ballroom. Just announced. Arkel's album release weekend, 7 p.m. April 17th and 18th, Town Ballroom. Afghan Wigs and Mercury Rev, 7 p.m. May 4th at the Town Ballroom. Brantley Gilbert, 8 p.m. May 16th at the Seneca Niagara Resort and Casino, Niagara Falls. Rockin' at the Knox with Devo, Soul, Coffin, and Shlipa Ray, 6 p.m. June 6th outside Buffalo AKG Art Museum. Buddy Guy, 7 p.m. July 18th, Kleinhans Music Hall. Country Rising Festival with Big Hacks Plug, Red Farron, and Graham Barham, 4:30 August 28th at the Outer Harbor, live at Terminal B, Furman Boulevard. Little River Band, 7:30 September 12th at the Western Riviera Theater, Webster Street, North Tonawanda. Zane, 8 p.m. November 7th at KeyBank Center. Jerry Seinfeld, 8 p.m. July 17th at the OLD Stage, Fallsview Casino, Niagara Falls, Ontario. Sierra Farrell, 7 p.m. September 2nd at the Art Park's Main Stage Theater, Lewiston. Western Riviera Theater just announced a tribute to Barry Manilow, August 14th. Absolute Adele, September 19th. Coming up, on sale now, tickets on sale now, Pearl Jam, February 27th. John Volby, February 28th. Outlaw State of Mind, March 6th. The Celtic Tenors, March 16th. Return to Paradise, a tribute to Styx, March 20th. Sticky Sweet, a tribute to Def Leppard, March 27th. Just Like Pink, March 28th. Strangelove, April 4th. The McCartney Experience, April 11th. Simply the Best, a tribute to Tina Turner, April 17th. John Wayne Memories and Melodies, April 25th. Love Sexy, a tribute to the music of Prince, May 8th. Starry Starry Night, Dan McLean, May 28th. Streaming. The Stream. What's new this week in television, films, and music? Movies. Pull up a chair to listen to Ethan Hawke's Lorenz Hart hold court in Richard Linklater's deliciously wistful Blue Moon, February 14th on Netflix. Linklater's film spends one night with the celebrated lyricist who's watching his longtime songwriter partner Richard Rodgers, played by Andrew Scott, move on with the premiere of Oklahoma on Broadway. Hawke is nominated for Best Actor by the Oscars. In my review, I called Hawke's Hart extraordinarily good company. The A24 romance Eternity, February 13th on Apple TV, stars Elizabeth Olsen in an afterlife conundrum in a kind of way station purgatory. She must choose how to spend her afterlife with her longtime husband, played by Miles Turner, and her first love, played by Caitlin Turner, who died in World War II. In her interview, AP film writer Lindsay Bear called Eternity imaginative and shrewdly whimsical with an utterly charming cast. Another A24 hit, Mighty Supreme, arrives on premium video on demand February 10th. It's the first chance to watch one of 2025's most acclaimed and Oscar-nominated movies at home. In her review, AP's Jocelyn Novick called it a nerve-busting adrenaline jolt of a movie. Timothy Lee Chalamet stars as a 1950s shoe salesman in New York, hell-bent on becoming the top professional ping-pong player. Music. Patience is a virtue and time is a luxury, particularly for those subject to the music industry. Luckily, Jill Scott, the once-in-a-generation R&B, neo-soul, and then some singer, plays by her own rules. On February 13th, she will release To Whom This May Concern, her sixth studio album and first full-length project in a decade. Lead singles Beautiful People and Prussia make it clear that this a meditative release born of experience, lush production, live instrumentation, and at its center, the intimacy of Scott's unmistakable voice, like a musical North Star. The album also features Ab Soul, J.I.D., Tierra Whack, and Too Short. Charlie XCX's first full-length album since Brat Summer Came and Went is the soundtrack to Emerald Fennell's starry adaptation of Emily Bronte's Wuthering Heights, out on February 13th. It might be wise not to expect the neon chartreuse of her Rav work. The first taste came in the form of House, featuring John Cale, an industrial gothic introduction to the romance. That song for, quote, Sherry, quoting Carrie, is both elegant and brutal. Other moments contain Charlie's signatures, auto-tuned vocals, unexpected production, shackled pop hooks. If There Was Ons begin with sound, Wall of Sound and Chains of Love. Series. Aldous Hodge is back as Alex Cross, the detective created by novelist James Patterson in Season 2 of Cross for Prime Video. In the new episodes, Cross is on the case of a serial killer hunting corrupt billionaires. It dropped February 11th. Video games. While most of the world is watching the Winter Olympics, our friends in the Mushroom Kingdom are hitting the courts in Mario Tennis Fever. This could be Nintendo's most frenetic tennis game yet, thanks to fever rackets that let you uncork fireballs, lightning bolts, tornadoes, and other effects against your opponents. You can play singles or doubles matches against friends, choosing from a cast of 38 favorites like Princess Peach, Donkey Kong, and Yoshi. Or you can play solo in an adventure that turns Mario and company into babies who have to learn tennis skills before they can grow up. Opening serve comes February 12th on Switch 2. JFK Jr. and Bissette's love story stirs backlash by Alicia Rancilio. With such a single photo released from their wedding day, much of the relationship between John F. Kennedy Jr. and Carolyn Bessette remains shrouded in romanticized legend. The courtship between the fashion publicist and the scion of the already much mythologized family, the private nuptials, and just 3 years later their deaths in a tragic plane crash. The new FX and Hulu series that premiered Thursday, Love Story, John F. Kennedy and Carolyn Bessette, attempts to fill in the gaps and chronicle their life together. It details a meet cute at a party and culminates in the deaths of the couple and Bessette's sister, Lauren Bessette, on July 16, 1999, when a small plane piloted by Kennedy crashed into the Atlantic Ocean. Jack Schlossberg, Kennedy's nephew, spoke out against the series last year, saying it was profiting off his family in a grotesque way, accusing executive producer Ryan Murphy of making millions off Kennedy's legacy. Murphy retaliated on California Governor Gavin Newsom's podcast, saying it was an odd choice to be mad about your relative that you really don't remember. Schlossberg, now running for Congress in New York, took to social media to share memories of his uncle. Murphy was absent from the recent press circuit for Love Story, but executive producer Brad Simpson, a veteran of Murphy's based on a true story American Crime Story projects, told the Associated Press that the creative team is fully aware that there are real people and real tragedies often at the heart of these stories. I'm not going to pretend like on some level we're not making an entertainment product out of it, but we've tried to be ethical and we've tried to be incredibly sincere, Simpson said. Paul Anthony Kelly and Sarah Pidgeon, who portrays Kennedy and Bessette in the series, say they took care in playing the couple but do respect Schlossberg's opinion. I don't know what it's like to have a TV show or a movie or a book written about my family, and I understand his sensitivities, and I fully support him speaking his mind, Pidgeon said. Added Kelly, we tried to have as much integrity and love going into this and retelling what I hope that people see that. The series is based on the book Once Upon a Time, The Captivating Life of Carolyn Bessette Kennedy by Elizabeth Beller. Episodes detail Bessette's ambition, rising through the ranks of Calvin Klein, to Kennedy's struggles keeping George magazine afloat. We see Grace Gummer as Carolyn Kennedy and Naomi Watts as Jackie Kennedy Onassis, nearing the end of her life, and disapproving of both the magazine and Kennedy's on-again, off-again relationship with Daryl Hannah, played by Dree Hemingway. As the series tells it, Kennedy and Bissett had a magical first date that went nowhere for years because, shortly after the tabloids reported he was back together with Hannah. Pidgeot admits she worried the project would be more salacious than sincere, but quickly realized that wasn't the case. I felt a fear that we were going to sensationalize this, and then as I got on board the project, it could not be, in my experience, further from the truth. The show's creator, Connor Hines, is adamant that it's extensively researched. We obviously had Elizabeth's book, but I read every single newspaper article that was written about them. Every tell-all, said Hines. Obviously, all of that material has to be taken with a grain of salt, and you have to be very judicious in terms of how you extract some of this information, because people have their own memories, people have their own slights. But we were exhaustive and diligent in how we approached this, and I think that will ring true when people watch it. Picture 2026 early season pass sale, February 15th through April 30th, 2026. It's been an incredible winter here at Holiday Valley, and there's still plenty more to go, but it's never too early to start planning out your next winter. Purchase your 2026-2027 Classic or Ultimate Pass today and save. Not only do you get the best deal of the season, but you can also take advantage of a fee-free payment plan on Classic and Ultimate Passes. And if you don't currently have a Classic Pass, when you purchase one during this period, you can use it to ski ride the rest of the season starting on March 1st when the pass is full. Picture of two skiers at the Holiday Valley. Television. Super Bowl viewership was up in here, down nationally. Super Bowls routinely received television ratings in Western New York in the 50s until 2021. Now the NFL season's ending championship game is fortunate to break a 40 rating on a Western New York broadcast station. Seattle's 29-13 victory over the New England Patriots, led by running back Kenneth Walker III, had a combined 40.2 rating locally on NBC and the Spanish-speaking channel television, Telemundo. It is a broadcast and cable rating and doesn't include Peacock, NBC Universal subscription streaming service, whose viewership is added on national figures. While Sunday's Super Bowl had lower viewership nationally than viewership for the Philadelphia Eagles' 40-22 victory over Kansas City Chiefs in 2025 Super Bowl, viewership was higher in Western New York. The 40.2 local rating is about 9% higher than the surprisingly and suspiciously low 37-point rating for the Eagles' title victory carried by WUTV, the local Fox affiliate. The 2025 game didn't receive a local rating on Telemundo. One rating point in Western New York is equal to 6,370 households. The Seahawks' victory Sunday had a combined peak rating of 44.0 at 8 p.m. before Bad Bunny's halftime show, which was performed almost entirely in Spanish. The rating dropped to a combined 38.4 rating at 8:15 when Bad Bunny performed and slipped to a 36.3 rating at 8:30, just before the second half of a game dominated by the Seahawks. The rating grew to a second half high of 41 after halftime at 8:45. As it became clear the Patriots quarterback Drake May didn't have any answers against Seattle defense, The ratings stayed in the high 30s for the final 90 minutes of the game. Nationally, the networks no longer report ratings. They prefer reporting viewership, which stands to gain annually because there are more potential viewers each year with population gains. That means Super Bowls can attract more viewers annually with lower ratings. NBC reports its presentation of Super Bowl 60 set an all-time media record with 137.8 million viewers watching in the second quarter when the Seahawks led 6-0. NBC said it was the highest peak viewership in U.S. history. Sunday's game ranked as the second most watched show in U.S. history behind last year's Super Bowl. It also was the most watched show in NBC Universal's almost 100-year history. It averaged 124.9 million viewers on NBC, Peacock, Telemundo, NBC Sports Digital, and NFL Plus, based on official live plus same-day Nielsen Big Data Plus panel. It was the most watched Super Bowl in U.S. Spanish language history, which isn't surprising considering many Telemundo viewers were driven to see Bad Bunny's halftime performance. Telemundo averaged 3 million national viewers, peaking with an average of 4.8 million viewers during Bad Bunny's halftime show. It was the most watched Super Bowl halftime in Spanish language history. The halftime show also set NFL records on social media with 4 billion views after the first 24 hours, 55% coming from international markets where the NFL is seeking to enlarge its presence. On another sports-related note, NBC's coverage of Friday's opening ceremonies of the Winter Olympics in Milan, Italy, had a combined 12.3 local rating for its repeat coverage on WGR-TV in prime time, 8.2, and its live coverage in the afternoon, 4.1. The repackaged prime time viewership doubled the live afternoon viewership, which strengthens the argument for NBC's presentation strategy. The 12.3 combined rating was down after 18% from the 14.5 combined rating on Channel 2 for the Winter Olympics in Beijing, China 4 years ago. The viewership figures for Peacock here were not available. Books. Shaman's memoir looks back with pessimistic humor by Mark Kennedy. Award-winning composer and lyricist says he's always waiting for the other shoe to drop. New York. Some people see the glass as half full and some as half empty. Mark Shaman is something else entirely. I'm not even happy with the glass, he says with a laugh. The award-winning Hollywood and Broadway composer and lyricist cheerfully likes to call himself Eeyore and a card-carrying pessimist despite many of his biggest dreams coming true. Just as soon as something good happens, something bad's going to happen, he tells the Associated Press. I'm always waiting for that other shoe to drop, and it inevitably drops. His career and personal ups and downs are on full display this winter with last month's publication of his memoir, Never Mind the Happy Showbiz Stories from a Sore Winter, which is filled with funny stories from a man who has helped fuel popular movies and musicals for decades. I've been lucky enough to do a lot, and I've been lucky enough to have an outrageous longevity, I thought. Let me write it down finally, he says. The memoir charts the New Jersey-born music prodigy's rise from Bette Midler's musical director in his teens to scoring such films as Sleepless in Seattle, Mary Poppins Returns, and Broadway shows like Hairspray, Catch Me If You Can. He's worked with Billy Crystal, Martin Short, Luther Vandross, Raquel Welch, and Rob Reiner. sparred with producer Scott Rudin and had a spat with Nora Ephron. I'm certain she's in heaven telling all the angels she doesn't like harps, he writes. He also played at the White House and was a force in the early days of Saturday Night Live. There was a time in 1999 that he got legendary composer Stephen Sondheim so high on pot at a party in his apartment that the iconic composer collapsed 3 times. I've killed Stephen Sondheim, he thought to himself. Sondheim asked him to tell the story only after he died. He tells the story of hearing Meryl Streep repeatedly working on a song for Mary Poppins Returns. Moved, he and his writing partner, Scott Williams, knocked on her door to say how impressed they were by her dedication to rehearse. Well, guys, fear can be a powerful motivator, she told them. I'm mostly just trying to show how human everyone is, even these bold-faced names, Shaman, a 2-time Grammy winner and 2-time Emmy winner, says in an interview. Shaman isn't above mocking himself, as he does for becoming an inverted pothead and cocaine user. I should go into the Guinness Book of World Records for being the only person who put on weight while being a cocaine addict, he writes. There are stories about how misunderstanding over an unpaid bill with Barbra Streisand left him shaken for days, and the time he insulted Harry Connick Jr.'s both would later reconcile. Then there was the time he found himself dressed in an ostentatious powder blue suit and feather boa alongside Nat Stone and Trey Parker on a red carpet for South Park, Bigger, Longer, and Uncut. They were dressed as Gwyneth Paltrow and Jennifer Lopez. One lesson Shaman hopes to teach aspiring artists is to go for it. What you can do is show up to everything. Say yes to everything because I'm a good example of that. He tells the story of Midler organizing a world tour and offering his services, but being told she was only hiring local LA people. So he withdrew all his money from the bank, hopped on a flight from New York, and called her from a phone booth. I'm in LA, where's rehearsal? Even if you don't get the job, keep your spirit up, because someone in that room is going to remember you for another thing. That's the thing I think he really learned from the book, he says. As a sign of Salmon's pull on Broadway, the audiobook will feature performances by Crystal Short, Matthew Broderick, Megan Hilty, Nathan Lane, Catherine McPhee, and Ben Whishaw, among others. I had included a lot of lyrics in the book, and then I suddenly realized, what am I going to sing them all or speak them? So I started calling friends, some who had sung those songs and some who had sung the demos. Crystal met Shaman at Saturday Night Live and quickly hit it off. In a separate interview, Crystal called his friend funny and quick to improvise with an almost photographic memory of music. Look at his range, from Misery to the beautiful score from The American President, and I brought him in on 61, and then the Mr. Saturday Night score, Crystal says. He's just so uniquely talented as an artist. Despite being a Tony Award winner in 2003 with Hairspray, and then earning 2 other nominations for Catch Me If You Can in 2011 and Some Like It Hot in 2023, Shaman is flustered by Broadway. His last 2 shows, Smash and Some Like It Hot, earned great reviews but closed early, a victim of high costs and fickle audiences. I wish the shows kind of stunk and I could go, oh man, that really stunk. People are really not liking this, he says, but when they're enjoying it. Shaman really has nothing else to prove, and yet he laughs that his skin has gotten thinner, not thicker, over the years. He'd like to take it easy, but that's not what Aors do. I don't know how well I'll actually do with retirement, but I'd like to give it a try. Books. Serial sleuths. Another Victorian detective beats Sherlock Holmes at his own game by Chris Hewitt. If you're looking for a brand new mystery with a Sherlock Holmes vibe, you are, as the British heroes of two new books might say, spoiled for choices. Sherlock Holmes and the Real Thing is the latest from Nicholas Meyer, who's been writing a series of supposedly newly unearthed mysteries featuring the great detective since the 1970s, when the 7% Solution was a bestseller. His Real Thing takes place in the 1890s. Set in London in 1879, just barely preceding Holmes' era, is Charles Finch's The Hidden City. It's the 15th in a series that features brilliant sleuth Charles Lennox, who's not Holmes but who's enough like him to please aficionados. Written by Americans, both mysteries have to do with England's class structure, and both feature characters fighting for English women's right to vote. Finch's book is the more elegant of the two and a more compelling mystery. Lennox, who has Holmes' love-hate relationship with Scotland Yard, but uses his aristocratic connections to his advantage, awaits a ship at the beginning of Hidden. The Hidden City by Charles Finch. Sherlock Holmes and the Real Thing by Nicholas Meyer. Taste. Snack attack. For a boost between meals, reach for these easy, low-carb mashes. Plan ahead for healthy snacks. What to avoid. Choosing low-carb snacks means steering clear of highly processed and sugary options. Packaged snacks like chips, cookies, and granola bars are often loaded with unhealthy refined carbohydrates. Here is a list of some healthy, plan-ahead snacks. Low-carb snack ideas. Berries. Berries are a great low-carb choice. 1/3 of a cup of blueberries contains just 5 grams of carbs. 1/3 cup of strawberries delivers under 3 grams of carbs. Avocado. Pair this nutritious food with red pepper slices or enjoy it on its own. 1/4 of an avocado contains 4 grams of carbs. Cucumber. Cucumbers are flavorful, very low in calories, and rich in potassium. About half a cup of this refreshing food contains just 3 grams of carbs. Kale chips are tasty and packed with antioxidants. 1 cup of kale contains less than 1 gram of carbohydrates. Plain popcorn. You don't have to save this fluffy country snack to movie watching. Popcorn is low-carb snack. Contains 4.5 grams of carbs that can go to anytime. High-protein, low-carb snacks. Adding protein to a low-carb snack can help you stay energized, support muscle recovery, and manage hunger between meals. Here are some simple and satisfying high-protein, low-carb snack ideas. Greek yogurt. Greek yogurt packs protein without a lot of carbs. 1/2 cup of non-fat plain yogurt provides 15 grams of protein, 6 grams of carbs. Hard-boiled egg. 1/2 cup of chopped hard-boiled egg offers 8 grams of protein and less than 1 gram of carbs. Cheddar cheese. Enjoy this tasty treat on its own or pair it with raw vegetables or a small amount of fruits or nuts. 1/4 cup of cheddar cheese contains 6 grams of protein and less than 1 gram of carbs. Almonds. 1/4 cup of sliced almonds provide 5 grams of protein paired with 5 grams of carbs. Taste. Restaurant notes. Concord Elmwood Village Wine Bar, We Need, by Francesca Bond. It came on the speakers during the second round of drinks. sometime in between courses of goat cheese, cured beef petals, and pork tartare. It took too long, it took too long, it took too long for you to call back. I peeked at the other tables to see if anyone else noticed the song. A woman who appeared to be around my age, late 20s, early 30s, mouthed the lyrics and shimmied her shoulders. We were both dining at the Elmwood Village cozy new spot, Concord, a wine bar, where the hit Disney song of our childhood, Allie and AJ's potential breakup song, was playing. Delightful, if a little unusual for a restaurant to stream a Disney tune. Then again, Concord isn't exactly a restaurant, and it isn't exactly a bar. Concord at 1008 Elmwood Avenue bills itself as a wine bar without a bar. No bar is in a long and high shared table where people eat communally and sit on stools is required to meet the definition of a wine bar. A wine bar is a bar or a small restaurant that serves mainly wines, which is true of this hole-in-the-wall restaurant from the married couple who own the next-door cheese shop, Amabel Provisions. Concord is about the size of Bertha's Diner. It feels like being at your stylish, Pinterest devout friend's apartment, the one who knows about the best estate sales and who would never serve cheese from Aldi or cheap wine from the corner liquor store. Their wine is mostly natural and may be proudly described as a little stinky, as Concord co-owner Clayton Edison described a glass of white Grubspitz wine from Transylvania. Concord is by no means exclusively for Buffalo's younger wine drinkers, but it does give young wine drinkers what they want, and not just an Allie and AJ song every once in a while. Young people who can't often afford a full meal at a restaurant with a great wine list, but who still have the taste for it, can enjoy the more accessible highlight reel of such an experience at Concord. Since Concord lands somewhere between a bar and a restaurant, you could order a couple of drinks, considered complex wine and beer, and a couple of European small plates with your friend without blowing through your budget. Will you be full? Probably not. Will you be drunk? A little bit. Maybe you sacrifice quantity, but you aren't sacrificing quality. We want something that's very casual. If you want to come in for a glass of wine or a bottle of wine and a snack, they are welcome, said owner Julian Orso. If people want to come in and have a full dining experience, they are welcome. I don't want anyone to feel pressure that there's one way to engage with this space, like you would at a restaurant. Del Oso and Clayton Edison opened Concord in January. Edison once ran the wine program at Dapper Goose, which Del also spent 7 years as a wine representative and ran the wine program at Buffalo Proper and Hotel Henry. Concord's wine list and food menu will change often. Del Oso and Edison are focusing on wine from regions that are uncommon on local wine lists, such as Transylvania and Bulgaria. Even New York State wine, like an effervescent rosé from natural wine producer Behemoth in the Finger Lakes, on a recent menu, $14 for a glass, isn't especially common at local restaurants. Del Oso pairs the cheese with complimentary accoutrements. A plate of Italian goat cheese came with rosemary crackers and hot honey. Other cheeses were paired with fruit jams and sweet crackers. The food, prepared by Chef Nate Nipkatsky, is reminiscent of Spanish tapas. Concord is limited by its kitchen space. Nipkati, who was for the former sous chef at Wine Bar The Little Club, prepares all the food behind the cheese shop's counter in a prep kitchen that lacks the equipment to pull off elaborate entrees. There are cured meats such as brajol, drizzled with olive oil and salt flakes, and salami. You'll also find a rotating selection of tinned fish, tuna sardines on a recent evening, a delicious hibiscus pork tartare with cured egg yolk, fennel salad, creamy butter beans, and a hot ham bun on the menu. Guests wait for their table in an open lounge with a broken-in leather Ames chair and a wooden mirrored cabinet. The plateware on each table is mismatched. The cloth napkins are vintage. Del Oso and Edison scored most of the decor from Facebook Marketplace and estate sales. With the owners serving and running food in the dining room that reflects their tastes, you feel especially as if you're dining in someone's home. The dining companion of the young woman who sang along to potential breakup song, also in her late 20s or early 30s, said the city needed something like this, a low-key, have a glass of wine type spot. We're trying to bring a new experience that we have found in other cities, Del Oso said, but has not yet really hit Buffalo. Concord is open from 5 to 9 Wednesday and Thursday, 5 to 10 Friday and Saturday, and 5 to 8 Sunday. Reservations are encouraged. Restaurant news. The Trump administration's intensified immigration and custom enforcement raids has spread fear through the immigrant restaurant community. I feel like somebody could come and try to take me because they see I'm Hispanic. They don't know that I'm a citizen, said a Puerto Rican restaurant worker. Read our coverage on how ICE has impacted Buffalo's restaurant scene at buffalonews.com. Osteria 166 is closing its downtown location after a fraught few years of dealing with downtown's barren post-COVID landscape. Osteria will open a new concept inside the historic Ulrich's Tavern. Food events. The Niagara Wine Trail is hosting a wine and sweet treat pairing experience from noon to 5, February 21st and 22nd, with a $30 ticket sample 3 wines paired with a sweet treat, such as a homemade fudge, cheesecake, and sponge candy at each of the 12 participating wineries. Tickets can be used across both days and are valid for samples at each winery. The Buffalo AKG Museum on Elmwood Avenue is celebrating Lunar New Year with food, dancing, and music from 4 to 8, February 20th. The AKG will serve a selection of Lunar New Year dishes symbolizing luck, prosperity, and good fortune. Performances include Japanese drumming and Chinese dance, among others. You have been listening to a reading of articles and features from the February 15th issue of the Sunday Gusto from the Buffalo News. Your reader has been Michelle. Thank you for listening.
Coming up next in the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service, we have the front section of the Sunday Times. At 2 o'clock, we have the New York Times Opinion section. And at 3 o'clock, we have the New York Times Arts and Leisure section. Stay with us for these readings and more throughout the day. If you're listening to this publication online, you're probably using our website, a podcast player like Spotify or iTunes, a streaming service like Siro, or a smart speaker. Did you know that we now have a dedicated app that can be downloaded to any mobile device, like a smartphone or tablet, for free? App users can conveniently access our live stream and any episode of our podcast easier than ever. To download the app, just type NFRRS in the search window in the Apple App Store or in the Google Play Store. Contact us anytime if you have any questions by calling 716-821-5555, extension 5. Thank you. You're listening to the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service. As of this year, our agency has broadcast more than 300,000 hours of radio readings. Volunteer radio readers read newspapers, magazines, and books to area people who are blind or have a print disability, who are provided reading radios. Radio Reading's broadcast signal is provided at no charge by WNED. Radio Reading broadcasts from studios at 1199 Harlem Road in suburban Buffalo. Please let others know about Radio Reading. It's your service. For more information on the Niagara Frontier Radio Reading Service, call 716-821-5555. following program is intended for listeners who are blind, have low vision, or have another print disability